Hi everyone, my name is Joseph, and today I want to talk about Digimon Liberator, Episode 3, Part 1. So, right off the bat, one aspect I'm hoping that Bandai Namco will reduce in the future is going to be the recap at the start of, I suppose, new episodes or new parts. So, Episode 3 actually begins with it's a pretty small recap of what occurred mostly in Episode 2 and some of Episode 1. And the only reason why I'm not the biggest fan of that is just because this is a bit of a tangent, but I think it's a good example. It's like with streaming shows when it all comes out at once. I've been guilty of binge watching shows. I'm sure most of us who watches my videos has done that as well. It's a common practice to do. And when the whole season comes out, one typically watches the whole series, right? And I feel like it's redundant when the next episode begins with a recap. Especially because again, when we binge watch, most of us have already seen that material. I understand that the rationale might be because we take a break and we come back to it. We might forget some elements of the show. Pardon me for stumbling on my words. Thanks for your patience. But with that being said, I think there's a difference between a network televised show versus a streaming show. So essentially, for network television shows where a series airs once a week, those recaps make a lot of sense. But for streaming shows, for me, it just seems really redundant. So with that mindset in mind, I feel like this is a web comic. It's not coming out. Well, I suppose it is coming out every week, but it's for a free issue. It's not like one needs to pay for it. For example, like if one reads manga traditionally, I do know that they come out on like Shonen Weekly, Shonen Jump, whatever it's called. I read Berserk, so I do know that comes on oh no, I just had it on the tip of my tongue too. Animal something. I forgot the name, unfortunately. Anyways, but one needs to not only wait a month or a week, but also purchase the item as well. So I do wish that we would have focused more on pushing the plot forward. And maybe I'm only being biased right now because I'm not going to lie. I had to move my laptop because my cat. That's why I shifted right now. I'm not going to lie. The episode 3, part 1 did feel a little bit light in terms of narration. We did get some more information. So as always, Digimon is keeping up with that tradition of the humans are not actually in control of the digital world. That's always been an element since Adventure 1. When Tai and Yamato, the whole gang, talk about how it's supposed to be the humans created the digital world, and the Digimon are confused about that statement, and they think to themselves, rather they say out loud, no, well, the digital world has always existed. It's just now that the human world and digital world is coming to become much more interconnected. Same thing with Seekers, right? One recalls the digital world was not created by humanity, but rather it already existed. And so, I believe, correct me wrong, I believe in Seekers, there was more of a cohabit. What's the word? I'm really stumbling on my words and forgetting words this morning. Excuse me about that. But as always, I do thank you for your patience. Cohabited, but I believe it was a cohabited, or in other words, I believe the digital world and the human world evolved at the same time since they were interacting with one another. Same issue with same idea with Lacunia. It's seeming like it already existed before the interference with humankind. Humans are just learning how to utilize the digital world in a way that they want to use it, so like a tool. But maybe they'll change that a little bit. We'll discover as we continue forward. But I bring this up because Terramon, he's the one that expresses confusion when Shoto states that Terramon and Shumon are both new Digimon operating within the digital world, and they state that they shouldn't exist since the digital world is man-made, and Terramon's confused about that. We do also get introduced to 2 new characters. I should probably say more like 1.5. One of them is actually named, and the other one we only get his code name. I'm not sure we'll get his real name, but the first character is known as Violet. She seems to be this iteration's version of Minmay, Leon, and essentially Ken from Adventure 2, all the quote-unquote affluent characters who come from affluence. So she's a foreigner. Her family is rich, and so she's studying abroad, and she's known as the Collector because she, collects a lot of different digital monster cards. It was cool to see Logomon. There's a brief little cameo from Logomon showing that he's part of her collection, so I like that. Right now, she's working with Ghostmon, and apparently she considers Arisa and Shoto to be rivals, but not in a bad kind of way. I thought her demeanor and her behavior was quite endearing, and I'm looking forward to her appearing some more. I wonder if she's maybe based on, or maybe I'm just misremembering, but if one recalls from Tamer's, Dobermon's partner, Violet, Vi is her nickname, really reminds me of that character design a little bit. So I wonder that was inspired by that character, or maybe I'm just misremembering, like I said. But she apparently talks a lot, and she reveals it seems like she has an official position with Laconia. She reveals that there's been a occurrences of a new type of Digimon cards, new type of Digimon appearing, and Ariza was about to reveal that they actually came across two new Digimon when Shoto stops her, and he explains that Ariza knows how much that Vi likes to talk and how much she's noisy as well. Once she finds out that Shoto and Ariza have encountered two new Digimon and are actually working with them, traveling with them, and Vi is never going to stop. Why does that matter? For two reasons. Because Shoto and Ariza want to go speak to a game master or a GM to ask them about the whole issue with their decks, the NPC, and the Digimon. But the second issue is much more a fun one. Arisa has convinced Shoto to buy her something. Right now, Arisa and Shoto are in Jewel, seemingly the capital of Laconia, or at the very least the capital of the beginner tutorial area. And Jewel also has a lot of shopping centers, and apparently Arisa really loves shopping at Jewel. We'll come back to that idea shortly. So that's for those two reasons that Shoto whispers to Arisa to keep that between them, Terramon and Shumon. And after that short interaction, they end up meeting the game master. Unfortunately, they're all occupied except for one, but the one they meet seems like it was good luck. He introduces himself as the not the leader, but the one who's in charge of all the other game masters. So that seems like a bit of good stroke of luck. And his name is Cool Boy. And that's how the chapter ends. It ends with Arisa and Shoto meeting with Cool Boy. So, although it was a fairly short chapter in terms of plot information, what it did reveal, I was still invested. I'm still looking forward to episode 3, part 2. Hopefully, but it's seeming like there won't be another battle. I believe that when there's no battles, that's when the plot will be pushed forward. And when there are battles occurring, the plot, not that it'll halt, but it'll just be going forward at a bit more slower rate because now we have to focus on the battle element. So the fact that there's no battle currently makes me excited for the next week, or rather not the next week, I'm sorry, in 2 weeks, because I'm hoping that part 2 will really give us some more information about the plots. But yeah, so with that being said, the quote that I really enjoyed there's actually 2 quotes that I enjoyed a lot, but the one I'm going to share the first one because again, quotes from the webcomics are hard to share because it's really big and I can't just copy paste. But this is when Terramon explains that apparently he's been stalking Shoto and Arisa. When I say stalking, I mean that in a funny, comical way, not in a toxic, negative kind of way. So it gets revealed that Terramon is actually, he enjoys going around Laconia, more specifically Jewel City, looking at all the newcomers. And it just so happened that he came across Shoto and Arisa. He saw how Arisa was helping Shoto how to fight for 3 months and how often he's been losing. The reason why they have this conversation is because Arisa points out, let me read the quote. So I've been watching you for 3 months. I've been watching you two for 3 months now. I see. That's why you know how easily Shoto gives up. That's coming from Arisa. She looks happy but kind of aloof a little bit, and Shoto looks pissed off looking at her. It must be tough, Missy, Terramon states. Shoto's brain immediately shuts off at the slightest hint of adversity. Enough already. But you're right. I do get like that. So I just really like that quote for 2 reasons. The first one being it reveals a lot about Terramon, the fact that he patrols around. I think that it's meant to make the reader think to themselves, oh, okay, I wonder if there's other Digimon who do the same thing that Terramon does. But in addition to that, are they also all friendly like Terramon? We don't have much about Shumon. Obviously, Shumon was running away, or at least it seems like Shumon was running away from another Digimon. Hopefully, we get more information about that. And the second aspect why I like this quote is just because I really like the honest accountability that Shoto has right here. Yeah, he is personally offended because Terramon and Arisa are talking about the lack of skills that Shoto has when it comes to the game of Liberator. So of course we don't want to hear that, right? He's already aware about how much he's not that great at the card game digitally versus physically. But I also do like, enough already. I think if that was left alone, that would have been a fun comical little section. But I really love this part. But you're right, I do get like that. And the picture that they have of him, instead of him looking angry and upset, it's him scratching his cheek and even says the word scratch, and Arisa's in the back. She looks happy again, but rather than aloof, she looks like a shy, awkward kind of happy. Like she's happy that Shoto's able to acknowledge that he kind of sucks, but also that's of course not something to celebrate, right? But at least he's aware about that, so hopefully he will practice to become better. The second quote that I really liked is similar in vein to this theme as well. It's when Shoto points out that Arisa is really excited to go to Jewel City, and Shoto points out that it's because Shoto highlights that she seems to really love shopping there, or rather, excuse me, I believe it's Teramon or Shuman, one of them that points out that Arisa seems really excited, and then Shoto explains it's because Arisa loves to shop at Jewel City. And then Arisa, she does look quite enthusiastic, and then she herself becomes defensive towards Shoto, and then explains that, well, she would be able to shop more if she wasn't forced to, well, I shouldn't use the word forced, it seems like she was doing it willingly, if she wasn't wanting to help Shoto to become better at the game of Liberator. And again, Shoto, instead of defending himself, he goes, well, yeah, that's true too. So because of that, Shoto makes a decision to go ahead and buy Arisa something as a thank you for the training that she's been giving him. It was a little bit friendly manipulativeness. When I say manipulativeness, again, I mean that in a positive way. Arisa is friends with Shoto, and it's true, she's been helping him for 3 months, right? So she brings that up. She even states, I'm glad I brought that up. So I thought that was really fun. Again, I'm really enjoying the relationship between Shoto and Arisa. I haven't really mentioned any romance. I just realized, and I think the reason being is because I would much prefer for them just to be platonic or just friends with one another. I think they do a good job of bouncing off of just their demeanor and behavior that they each individually have. But as we continue going forward, we'll see if there's going to be any romance. I honestly don't mind if there's not going to be any. I don't think every show needs to have a romance in order to have a great story. Like for example, Seekers. Correct me if I'm wrong, but there was no romance in Seekers. There was just friendship and co-workers. And although there was elements of E.G. pointing up some woman that he did take an interest in, such as Hatsune, the receptionist, and sometimes with Satsutsuki, the second in command after Yolene from the Digipolice. There was no actual component to the story where romance was focused on. So, if there's going to be a lack of romance in this story as well, Liberator, I honestly don't mind as long as the friendships continue to be so enduring in this manner so far. So with that being said, that's essentially everything that occurs with episode 3, part 1. Again, although not much happens in terms of narration, I do believe you get some more information about the world building that is able to make the reader and the audience excited still. If not excited, at the very least looking forward to the next week. We still need to have that world building in order to start focusing on characterization, because if characterization won't make sense and the audience doesn't understand how the world works. Hopefully that little explanation is understandable. But thank you so much everyone for watching or / listening. I really do appreciate it. One last thing, I like how they being the writers utilize color as well. What I mean by, it's very small, but what I mean by that is when Shoto and Arisa go to Jewel City, they make sure that Teramon and Shuman are inside their Digivices, and the reason being is because since they're new Digimon, they're really going to stand out and they're walking around in public. So because of that, they're inside the Digivices as stated, and of course we see that when Teramon speaks, the Digivice, to me it seemed like a blue color, but it seems more like a blue-greenish color. And Shuman, when he speaks within the Digivice, his color was yellow. So I actually really like that the Digivice, the little perimeter circle around it, or the box, it was glowing yellow when those Digimon spoke. So I just like the colored uniqueness about that. I'm looking forward to see if the other characters are going to reveal their colors too. Anyway, so thank you so much again for watching and listening. I really do appreciate it. I hope you guys have a Pro Digits day. My question for everyone is going to be, how do you guys feel about the pacing so far? Do you feel like episode 3 specifically was too slow for you? Is one upset that we still don't really have an antagonist and we're already in episode 3? Or is one okay and they're just going along with the story? For me, it's definitely more the latter than the former. Although, as I stated already, the pacing was a bit slow. At least it established some elements about the world and about some characters as well, and introduced 1, 2, 1.5 characters because again, Cool Boy, we didn't get much from him. So I'm very much looking forward to the next week, or excuse me, not the next week, in 2 weeks when Liberator continues. So again, to reiterate, my question for everyone is, did you believe episode 3 was too slow, or are you enjoying episode 3 in terms of its pacing? Again, everyone, have a prodigious day. Take care, and thank you so much. I really do appreciate your engagement, especially for those who leave comments. Thank you so much.